Welcome to Chieftain Roll Call. I'm Bill Tipple with Rick Reed, who is a Bellefontaine assistant football coach, and Jack Varner, who's a junior center for the Chiefs. Our show is presented by Easton Water Solutions, and it's all thanks to the Chieftain Backers, a new club that just launched in August. It's a great deal. If you pay $20 as a Bellefontaine High School student, you get into all the home sporting events throughout the school year. This week, the Chiefs are on the road. There's even a Spirit bus going to London Friday night for Week 10 in high school football. Guys, it's a big one. We'll go back a week, though. The Chiefs were at Kenton Ridge in Week 9 in high school football. Bellefontaine rolled 49-14. I'm not even sure it was as close as the final score. Bellefontaine pretty much did whatever they wanted, then played the reserves quite a bit there in the second half. Coach Reed, what a win. I thought the team, not only was it a big win to put you in position for this week, but I just thought the team played a really strong game.
Yeah, coming off Indian Lake there a few weeks ago when we were in a situation where we were clearly the better team on paper. We didn't like how we came out in that game, thought we were flat, let Indian Lake score first and let them kind of be in the game for almost a quarter. And that was a point of emphasis that we didn't want to, play anything less than our best. And, yeah, I think for the most part we were clean and aggressive and made big plays, big stops, and good team effort. Got a lot of JV guys in. That was good.
One of head coach Jason Brown's mantras are you're either getting better or you're getting worse. A lot of football coaches say that. I think the Chiefs are getting better. What's your perspective?
Yeah, I think that was a good step forward, and I think we've had a really good week of practice. It's we were inside yesterday. That was the first time we've practiced inside all year, right, Jack?
Yeah.
I don't think which that's a testament to how good the weather's been, because usually you'll get 2, 3, 4 of those practices a year where you just get. And we could have probably been outside yesterday, but it was freezing raining at the beginning, and it's not supposed to be that way Friday night. If they were calling for freezing rain Friday night, we'd probably go out and suffer through it. But you don't want to get everybody sick, and it's hard to get to work in when you're distracted. We were inside, and I thought it was one of the better indoor practices I've ever been a part of.
Jack, your take as a player on the win at Kenton Ridge last Friday.
Yeah, it was a good win. Like he said, we didn't want to replicate what happened at the lake, and we just went in and we handled business. And, that was the goal, just so we were the better team.
What's it take for a team to play in dominant fashion when they know they're better? Because I think some human nature comes in here where you probably knew you were better, and maybe it could be a letdown. So what spurred that strong start and just a real clean game?
At this point, I would say it's probably just a culture. It should be no matter who you play, you just play to the same level. You always want to try to play your best, and of course, having the CBC title in our hands was a key part of that. We don't want to let that slip up over a game like that. So just always try to play our best.
The Chiefs have clinched at least a share of the CBC Kenton Trail. You can win it outright Friday at London. But I know that you're one of the aim blockers, and then your classmate Chris Fogan is the primary ball carrier. He had quite a night, 253 yards, which that's maybe not a shocker. Chris is that good. But only 12 carries. So how about the way he ran the football?
Yeah, it felt like we didn't have the ball for very long because every time he touched it, he was gone. So I wasn't overly sweaty on Friday. I was kind of just on the field for a few plays and then off because he was electric.
And Rick, your take on Chris's game and your offensive line's performance?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things. Kenton Ridge fit us a little different in the run game at times. His 88-yard run, I said in the headset before we snapped the ball, was a touchdown. You don't say that very often from the 12. They weren't fit right. They were playing an odd front and trying to spill stuff to the outside, but there was times where, at least on that play, there was no outside backer. So they were spilling the ball into grass. And Chris ran right to grass on that play. I think it was power 23. He just literally ran in. I don't know if he was touched on the play. So that was certainly part of it. Played really well up front, not the best opponent as far as challenging us. But, I thought we got after him. And Chris obviously ran the ball really well. And just a complete performance offensively.
Yeah, a big passing night for Tavian St. Clair as well. When you go back and you watch film and you grade your offensive line, I know it was a team that you were better than, but what are you looking for where you say, yeah, that was a good night for the Chiefs?
Well, it's all the basic stuff. How are we getting off the ball? What's our pad level? How our feet look? How's our hand placement? Are we executing assignments? Are we understanding, defensive leverage and how they line up can affect our run rules? How do we pick up, pressure, which they didn't give a lot of that, but all the fundamental stuff. And, I don't do the grade. Sometimes people use that term. And there are people that grade, and I think I've dabbled in that years ago. I just give notes. Every Saturday I get here at 7:30 a.m. and I start watching the film. I usually watch it before I go to bed, but I don't write anything down. And we watch it, of course, during the game. So a lot of times I have a feel already for what happened. But start taking notes on every play. Sometimes I don't get through the whole game. I think this one I stopped after it got a little lopsided. There wasn't as much to say. But then that way when these guys are done working out, they can get their, kind of my stream of consciousness from the game.
Well, a couple other numbers on last Friday. The Chiefs again won at Kenton Ridge 49-14, but it was 42-7 Bellefontaine at the half. Bellefontaine had 6 first-half possessions and scored 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's off the charts.
Tough to beat.
Yeah, no doubt about it. How about the pass game? What did you see as far as pass protection?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't sending a lot of heat at us. It was a lot of 3-man pressure, so there wasn't a lot of duress there. But yeah, I thought we fought, and we did our job.
Was there any mention by the players or coaches after the game that, hey, the Chiefs have clinched at least a share of the title? Was that brought up at all?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't remember exactly how Coach Brown worded it. I don't spend a lot of time on share of a title. I look at it as we have an opportunity to win the CBC title this Friday. A share of it with London would be very unsatisfying. So it set up a showdown to play one of the best teams in our league for a league title.
What's it like to have such a big game in week 10? I'm going to ask the same thing to Jack in a moment. But, you look around the state, some teams are not in this kind of a position right now.
We've not been in that position before. Yeah, I know the difference. I've been a part of coaching staffs where you're playing out the string in week 10, and some of our worst weeks of practice have been week 10 with nothing to play for. It can get loose because what do? You got seniors that the party's over. They know the party's over, and this is not that year, and we have a ton to play for. So we've really had a good week of practice, and everyone always says that, but it's true. We have had a good week of practice. We have a ton to play for. We have the CBC title to play for. We have the fact that London is a team we haven't beat in the last few years since they've come back to the league. It's a program measuring game. They have been known for physicality since they came to the league. They have a reputation in their weight room. I'm told that their weight room guy is elite, and I believe it. I mean, look at their kids. They got some big old coaches over there. They got some dudes, and I respect what they do. But that doesn't mean we're certainly gonna bow down to them. We want a piece of them, and we don't say that disrespect. I would say that with respect. But they've fed it to us for a few years, so we're ready. I mean, I think we are very eager to get on a bus and go over there and strap it up and show that it won't just be about our skill players. This game will be won in the trenches. I mean, our skill players certainly that speaks for themselves, but we want to win this game in the trenches.
And Jack, as a player, how about for you? You've kind of seen it all in your 3 years here. You played some as a freshman. That was the COVID year. Bellefontaine went 2-6 and just had some struggles. Then last year, our big resurgence made the playoffs, but still not the same kind of feel in Week 10 last year going into this game. So how about the feeling for a player right now?
Yeah, it's kind of how you draw it up. And, if you're going to write a football book, you would draw it up Week 10 showdown for a conference championship on the line. I think it's pretty cool. It's not only just about the conference championship for us. It's about getting that and then getting a chance to get 2 home playoff games and definitely locking down one, which I think how many times have the Chiefs had a home playoff game?
This would be our 4th or 5th?
I think 4th.
We hosted for the first time in 2017. Is that true, Tips?
No, and when Sean and Keith were seniors, 07.
Oh, jeez.
And
I was in part of all these. 07.
01 as well.
We hosted in 01?
Yeah, lost to Willard.
Okay, so, let's back up. 01, we hosted against Willard. 07, Shelby. Jake Kennedy's senior year would have been 14 versus Bellbrook. Then 17 versus Granville.
This will be 5 if you
This will be 5.
Yeah, so 5 teams in 120 plus years. It's something we want to do, and to do that for the seniors would be great. And to go beat London, I mean, the team that's been our part you could put in the book. We haven't beat them in 4 years. I mean, since they came back, we haven't beat them. So
it would be 19, 20, and 21. So
yeah,
this will be the 4th meeting.
Yep. So
Is there a real excitement amongst the players?
Yeah, absolutely. None of us have got to play for a CBC title before. Last year was a really, really good year, but it definitely wasn't the same as this year where you can like host a playoff game and all that. So there is a lot on the line, and we know it, and we're excited.
Coach, what makes the Chiefs better? I know that you've said many times you're a very straight shooter, that there's a talented team, but just look at where the team's come in the last couple of years. What's different?
We're more talented. I mean, that's the number one reason. We're a year older, so I mean that's the way it works in high school. You get generally a lot better, especially your sophomore to junior year. Junior, senior, you get better too, but that sophomore to junior year, and we played a ton of sophomores last year. So and other things, our culture continues to get better. Coach Brown had to instill a culture in that COVID year. That was not easy. That was difficult for everyone, especially new staffs. So now we have cohesiveness. This is year 3 with most of us together. I think we have the best staff that I've been on in my time here, and we've had some good staffs. We've had good groups of guys at different times. They come and go. I think this is the best group of coaches I've ever coached with. I think that we have really smart people planning on both sides of the ball, and I don't think we've always had on both sides of the ball. I think we have multiple people that could be head coaches on our staff or have been head coaches maybe in other sports. And our kids are talented. I think our kids are hungry. I think we have a pretty high character group. I think a real high character group. We don't have a lot of issues with our kids. Coach Brown's done a lot of that. That's a real credit to him. He's squashed a lot of the selfishness of years past, and I think we truly buy into what we're doing. And I think, looking back to Coldwater, because that's kind of the last time we lost, the only time we lost. We didn't play hard enough that night. I told you that a few times, and we're playing harder. And there'll come a night, and it might just be Friday, where we will win or lose based on how hard we play. London has the ability to challenge us that way. Maybe not. Hopefully, I hope we can go out and beat them by a few touchdowns. It could happen, but it very well could come down to the very last play of the game, and the team that plays a little bit harder wins, and we need to be ready for that.
Well, from my perspective, and I've seen a lot of Chieftain seasons, I think the coaching staff has done a brilliant job. And I also think, I've never asked you this, we're going to do this live on the air here. I think Coach Brown is harder on the team. I've said this during some of our broadcasts on the radio or on PeakableOhioTV.com, and this happens across all levels of coaching. You used to be a head coach in wrestling, so you can maybe speak to this. I think that Coach Brown knows he has a really good team, even though he is very humble, by how hard he pushes them. And any coach that really pushes their team even more, I think they know that they have a special team. So I think he's raised the bar in his expectations is what I see. Do you see that day in and day out?
Yeah, and I've been with him since 2007, so I've seen a lot of different versions of this, and no doubt that he is coaching. He's harder on players than he used to be, and I think that's a couple of things. I think it's we're really talented. I think you're right that when you're really talented, you need to coach harder because you need to keep pushing, and we know that there's special things out there that we could achieve. It's not a given, not by any stretch, but it could happen. We have enough talent in our room that we feel like most teams we would see will feel all right. I don't know how it'll shake down, but we'll have a chance. And that's all you can ask for. And there's not many times that you could say that. The other thing is his issues with his heart a year and a half ago. It changed him as a coach, no doubt. He cared a lot more about what people thought before that incident. And so he may have held back at times, and he is much more blunt post his heart surgery. And I just think I've never gone through anything like that. It's probably to be expected. He probably had a lot of moments of realizing that, you never know what's going to happen, and no reason to hold anything back. And I think he's a better coach than he's ever been. Now, we had the challenge with him being principal, but uniquely, we have a good enough staff to handle that. There are staffs that would fall apart in that situation where the head coach is, not able to get out to practice on time or has to be called away. That's not easy. But we have a mature team and we have a good coaching staff, so we make it work.
And this is old news. The surgery was a year and a half ago. I give Coach Brown all kinds of props for sticking with it and wanting to keep doing it too. So, you know, it all seemingly has worked out.
Yeah, and give a lot of credit to his family. I mean, I didn't expect to go down that path, but I know exactly where I was sitting when he called me. And yeah, you know, first of all, he's my, you know, one of my longest, closest friends. I lived with him. So there's the human element immediately. But at some point, I started thinking about football, and I thought he was done. I said he was done. I think I probably told you that.
You did.
I said he's done. You know, I just thought, well, that's it. You know, football wasn't important at that point, but I thought, well, that'll wrap that up. And, you know, over time, as he got better, it was like, all right, well, maybe he can do this. And you know, his wife, obviously, she's number one, and his kids, that they got on board and said, hey, and his doctor said, there's no reason you can't do it. You know, it took time, but yeah, it's worked out really well. It's worked out really well for him and his family. It's worked out really well for our coaches, our players, our community. We couldn't be in a better position. You know, they talked about this last night on Don Hensley's show with Coach Brown. Then he had Biff Roberts and Gail Clark on, and just we do have something special. We have a lot of people in our inner circle that care about what we're doing, and that's something a few years ago, you know, Coach Brown and I have talked before. You know, he said it, that he and I have kind of been the caretakers for a while now as far as the consistent people in the program over multiple regimes. And we felt like a few years ago we'd really gotten away from just being chieftains. I mean, it's not just something, you know, it's not just a cliche. Like it's important to us, and we want real chieftains here, and we want to fight with real chieftains. And I think that's a lot of part of where we're at.
Yeah, I want to ask this to Jack, too. Then we're going to take a break and come back and talk about the London matchup in depth and the playoff scenarios. Rick loves playoff football. He's like Joe Itell Jr. or something, where he's got these numbers and points and second-tier points all kind of somewhat figured out. But, Jack, again, it's your third year in varsity. Played some as a freshman, started as a sophomore, started now as a junior. Coach Reed is always pretty outspoken on his thoughts. He says it's the best coaching staff he's been a part of. You've watched, I know your dad used to be a coach, and you would watch him when you were in junior high, but as a player, it's your third year. How's the staff different from maybe your first two seasons?
It's definitely improved. You know, Coach JK is a big part of that. Peitzmeyer was a big part of it this year. Peitzmeyer deserves a lot of credit for how good our defense has been this year. He brought a new element to it, I think. And, you know, definitely 2020 was such a weird year, and I think it was very hard for the coaches, and Coach Reed can obviously say whatever he needs to say about that. It was a hard year for everybody, and they like the players showed resilience and, you know, righted the ship, I guess.
Well, the two coaches you brought up are the two coordinators.
Yeah.
Kennedy's the offensive coordinator. Aaron Peitzmeyer, well, he's the linebacker coach, I guess, by title.
Coordinator.
Jeremiah Viansky is the defensive coordinator. But Aaron has a lot of say in how in things. So, you know, I guess if we're gonna give credit to the coordinators, it would be Jake and Coach V or Coach Viansky.
Yeah.
But what about Kennedy and Peitzmeyer? What they've what they brought to the table?
Kennedy just brought energy. You know, he's a relatable guy. He's kind of younger, and he's smart. He's very, very smart. He knows his football, and he's been really good for Tavian too. You know, having a guy like that for Tavian's good. And then Peitzmeyer, you know, he's a very good football coach. You know, he proved that at Marysville. They went to they were in the semifinals last year, I think, and he definitely. I feel like our defensive playbook has expanded vastly since he's been here, and that's just credit to him and Coach Viansky, because them working side by side.
Well, and that's a good thing to point out. The Coach Viansky, what you really need on a staff is humility, and coaching's no different than anything else. Egos can get in the way, and you need coaches that check their egos and do what's best for the Chiefs. And that's not always the case. It's not always the case anywhere in anything. And we have a lot of coaches that are willing to do their role and change their role if needed to do what's best for the Chiefs. And we have a lot of guys doing that every day, and that's how you get good.
Yeah, and Coach V has been able to really mesh with the new coach.
Yeah.
It's not always
Oh,
easy.
no, they work well together. They're friends, and they're professionals. They want what's best. They want to win. So, you know, they play to each other's strengths and, you know, do what's right by the Chiefs each Friday night.
Let's take a break. When we come back on Chieftain Roll Call, we'll continue our talk with Rick Reed, Bellefontaine assistant football coach, Jack Varner, who's the starting center for the Chiefs. We're going to dive into this London matchup on what will be a couple of the key factors according to Rick and Jack, and then talk playoff scenarios. Chieftain Roll Call continues after this.
This is Trey Daring at Eichholtz Daring and Sanford Funeral Homes and Cremation Center. We are committed to providing professional, tailored funeral and cremation services at affordable pricing. We are part of a community for caring individuals, friends, and neighbors who consider it a privilege to serve you in your time of need. We are proud to be locally owned and operated. Our family serving your family since 1903.
Go Chiefs!
Foresight Insurance and Financial Services is a locally owned and operated financial services provider for the state of Ohio, focusing our efforts on serving the residents of Logan County and surrounding counties. We are located at 1653 US 68 North Bellefontaine. Foresight can help you with all your retirement needs. We specialize in assisting with pension options. We also offer business planning, charitable gifting strategies, as well as life and health insurance. Call today at 937-595-5002. Foresight Insurance and Financial Services, in the business of planning life.
Hello, this is Luke Varner from Easton Water Solutions. How is your water? Does your water need improved? Put my 23 years of experience to work for you. Give me a call today, Luke Varner, Easton Water Solutions, 592-8379.
At Realty, we value our clients and provide quality, professional services to Logan County and surrounding areas. Founded in 1988, our company prides itself on unique experiences that you can only find with us. Our area knowledge and negotiating expertise helps buyers and sellers achieve their goals. When you buy or sell with Royer Realty, you can use our moving truck free. Royer Realty, the realtors you know and trust.
Go Chiefs!
Welcome back to Chieftain Roll Call. I'm Bill Tipple. Our show is presented by Easton Water Solutions. We're talking Chieftain football as they get ready for Week 10, a huge game. Bellefontaine is at London Friday night. Rick and Jack have already talked about this some, but I want to talk about the matchup. You both see game film. I don't. I guess I look at stats a lot, but the first thing that jumps out is London's tradition. The last probably about 5 or 6 years, Coach Cutler's done an amazing job. When he took over, they weren't very good. Their bread and butter is very physical. My description is maybe Wisconsin, when Wisconsin's really good. If you follow college football, that's kind of their style, where they ground and pound. But let's talk about London this year. They're 6-3. They're 3-1 in league play. They lost to Tecumseh early in the year. They lost to St. Mary's and Chillicothe. And you can talk about technique, personnel, whatever you want to talk about, Coach, on what they do that makes them go.
They played a tough schedule. You know, St. Mary's and Chillicothe in their out of conference. That's a pretty tall task. St. Mary's has one loss. Chillicothe, I believe, has one loss, maybe two. Lost to Tecumseh. You know, defensively, which is where my focus is, they are physical in the box, even front. You know, got a couple guys that make you nervous. Number 77 in particular is a guy that plays nose, comes in and out. I think he starts on offense too. He can change the line of scrimmage. Big dude, 300 plus, I'm sure. Linebacker number 32 is a good player. I think he's back from last year. Number 11 is a pretty good player. I think he's one of their skill players, is he not?
Tailback or running back.
Yeah, he does a pretty good job playing the alley. Safety number 15, I believe that's the Jones kid, younger Jones version. Brother.
Dad played for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, DJ Jones's boy. His brother went to Indiana.
Isaiah Jones.
From last year. So, yeah, and there's some standout players. You know, and they're physical. They play an odd front sometimes too. They do some funky things defensively. They'll line up differently based upon their opponent. They're not real traditional. You know, some teams like Alder, I always say, like when you play Alder, it's like, you know, exactly where they're going to line up. They're real traditional like that. London, you know, will put guys in places kind of just to take away things. Last year they dropped, you know, safety just like over the middle of the field and just kind of said they were going to help take away EY with that middle stuff that we liked to run last year. You know, we've had to prep pretty good for them. I feel like we're ready, but I assume they'll throw a wrinkle at us. They'll like send pressure. They'll twist up front. They'll send them linebackers. they'll zone blitz, drop their 5 technique into the flats, and then send blitz the other side. They'll bring guys off the edge. They'll line their linebackers up with different leverage. Very just, they've obviously got a plan, but they're not keen on telling you what it is. So that'll be a big part of the game, is identifying early on how they're lining up to us formationally and seeing what they're trying to take away. We want to be balanced offensively, no doubt. I don't think that's a secret. We want to run the ball and throw the ball. And, it'll be interesting to see how they try to approach that.
Yeah, they're multiple, I guess, is the short answer. A lot of different looks, a lot of different fronts. Jack, what do you see out of the London defense? You're the center, so you're going to be responsible for some of these different blitzes and packages that Coach Reed just brought up.
Yeah, they're good. They got 77's a big boy, one of the bigger guys I faced probably. They got good backers, good safety. They're physical, so we got to be ready to match their physicality. Yeah, they're just a really, really solid defense. One of the best defenses we saw all year probably.
As an offensive lineman, is it exciting to go against a team that's going to, as Coach Brown says, play in the phone booth and be, just right in that box area, the offensive lineman of the Chiefs against the defensive lineman of London? It's going to be a hammer.
Well, I would say it's especially exciting when I think everybody kind of thinks they're going to whoop us a little bit. So it is exciting. It's exciting to go prove ourselves and show that it's not, this isn't just, Chris Fogan's and Tavian St. Clair's ride. It's a team effort, and we're going to go do our part of the team on Friday.
Rick, I always ask you this because it kind of paints a picture. Does London as a team remind you of anybody the first 9 weeks, or maybe anybody else the last few years the Chiefs have gone against?
I mean, similar to Tecumseh, probably more talented than Tecumseh, I would say. But Tecumseh was pretty good. I think people underestimate Tecumseh. Tecumseh beat them, so nothing else needs to be said. But, yeah, they remind me of Tecumseh, maybe with just a little better skill on defense.
Okay. And when you said Tecumseh was good, I know that game's in the rearview mirror, but what impressed you about them?
Our defensive line, they were physical. They were tough to block.
Okay. Toughest defensive front in the first 9 weeks?
Oh, I don't know. Coldwater was pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Coldwater was a handful. I mean, I've been impressed with the level of box play on our schedule this year. I'd say we've probably played 5 teams that, Shawnee was solid. Alder was solid. That, we haven't had many nights where even Ben Logan, they've struggled this year. They had some decent kids in the box. Indian Lake had a couple decent kids in the box. I mean, we haven't had a lot of. Kenton Ridge was really the only game where you said, "Oh, this is kind of easy."
Okay, all right. You said it's been a good week of practice, and I know a lot of coaches say that, but I'll have you answered on both sides. What is a good week? You've done it a long time. And what's not such a good week? What is a coach looking for?
Oh, energy. You can just tell when people are faking it and when people are genuinely interested in being there. So good energy. You look at transitions, how people transition from one thing to the next. Are you hustling around? Getting good quality reps? Or are you going through the motions? Are you getting good looks from your scout team and then responding well with your own good performance? How guys talk. If kids are screwing around, you always get a little bit of that when you got 60 dudes together. How much are the people not involved paying attention instead of, joking around?
Jack, how about your opinion on that, on the practice week?
Yeah, basically what he said. I thought this week was a good week. I think we've had a lot of good weeks of practice this year. I think there's been I would say we've had mostly good weeks and maybe a few occasional slip-up days, but this was definitely one of our better weeks, and I think it's because everybody knows what's on the line this week.
Has your offensive line grown the last few weeks?
Yeah, I think this is the litmus test. Kenton Ridge, great performance, but not as tough an assignment. So this will be the game. If we come out and we play well, we don't have to be perfect, but just play well and give our offense, be a part of the reason why we're successful, not just, Tavian dropped back and let one fly and CJ ran underneath it for a 70-yard touchdown and Tavian got hit as he let go of the ball. We want to be a big part of it. Like, hey, he had a totally clean pocket, or Chris didn't have to be superhuman to score like it was easy. That's what we want.
Okay. What's it take to win the game? Then we're going to talk playoffs.
it's it's all the coaching cliches you can come up with, but it's real that we need to win a line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. You play clean on special teams. We haven't played our best game, and the crazy thing is, in any facet of the game, specials, offensively or defensively, we have not played our best game yet. So, if we can even play close to it in all three phases, then that's the key.
Jack, what do you think the key is to winning the game?
Not beating ourselves, I would say, to start. I think we've been getting better at that, but we definitely have the tendency at times to beat ourselves. No stupid penalties, no turnovers, etc. And just matching their physicality, because we know they're going to be physical, and the reality is they're probably at times going to beat us on reps. Like, I'm sure 77 will make a play, but just not buying into that and just matching their physicality.
I think it'll be similar to Coldwater's line play. I know that was a very physical game, but could this be your most physical opponent of the year?
It's tough to say because I haven't felt them, but I would say it's gonna be similar. Coldwater was really good though, but 77's a big kid, and they got big boys too. It's gonna be physical.
And what makes Coldwater unique is all that physical play plus a quarterback that's absolutely fantastic. So Coldwater's a tough matchup because they do everything well.
Yeah.
And not I'm not really comparing London to Coldwater. It's just that's a high bar. That's a really, really, really good football team.
Well, the other thing that stuck out about that game, which I know is week 2, and that's old news, but I think it was one of the best weeks of the year for the Chiefs, which is weird to say. It's your only loss. Is it showed, I think, everybody, the players, the coaches, and just people watching like me, of how hard the Coldwater, all 11, pretty much every play. I mean, they go.
It's exactly what we took from it, is how hard they played. If we can match that and we can learn from that experience, I mean, nothing was lost that night. We said that at the time. We didn't lose anything. We're playing for a league title. We're playing for a chance to host possibly 2 playoff games. I mean, what more can you ask for?
That's my next and final topic. You are the playoff czar, and you've been that way for a long time. You love
back
this
before it was in vogue.
Yeah.
Now everybody is.
Right. But you
Fantastic
just love
50 makes it
you
easy.
love to say, well, if this happens, if this, it's the big what if scenario.
Yeah.
The first what ifs is if the Chiefs beat London, are they certainly home week 11?
Well, certainly that, yes.
Okay.
That's a lock, mathematically.
Are they home week 12 if they win week 11?
That's not a lock. I know everybody wants to think it is. It's just not. It's definitely a chance. We'll be in that 4-5 slot if we beat London. I mean, that's about it. Now, barring some crazy things happening. Now, there are some really big games in the region, so I don't want to overlook the fact that teams ahead of us could lose. And so we have a losable game. I mean, there's games where you wouldn't be shocked to see teams lose. There's not a lot of cupcakes in there. Tri-Valley plays in a really big game, and now I even had it pulled up on my phone.
Maybe New Lexington?
No, I don't think so. Jackson plays Chillicothe. Let's start with that. They're the number 1 team. That's Watterson plays Hartley. I remember that one. Bloom Carroll plays someone good. Hamilton Township, who's in the playoffs. Tri-Valley plays John Glenn. No, Tri-Valley doesn't have a tough game. They'll win that. Granville plays someone good. Watkins Memorial, 8-1, bigger school. So any of those games, could change the complexion. But barring upsets, we'll be in that 4-5 spot. If we're in the 4 spot, we're guaranteed to host twice if we win. If we're in the 5, we're not.
That's interesting. Let's assume the Chiefs beat London, and then you still might not get in the top 4. That's a head scratcher to me.
Well, shows you the region is tough. Now, I don't think we have the toughest region, so I'm clear. That northern region is a bear. The one with Chardon, and I don't know all those teams, but like Youngstown, Ursuline, Cheney. If you go by Fantastic 50, Drew Pasteur, which I have tremendous respect for what he does. He's really intelligent, and he has created a model that takes our opinions out of it. Now, it's not perfect, but
because it doesn't account for injuries.
No, well, and it doesn't account for 17-year-olds. But you and I aren't perfect when we predict either.
We're not.
He is really good. He gets about 86% of the games right now.
Ooh.
He's good, and he has that northern region. Those teams ranked really high. I want to say Chardon's ranked like 20th in the state, regardless of division. So they're up there with the big boys. The Southwest one's tough too. That's
Baden.
Tip City, Wapak, Western Brown, Hamilton Baden. Like you said, that's probably the big dog. Our region is very deep. I think our region's wide open. When the regions came out in the summer, I was waiting on. I was like every day waiting for him to come out. I said to our coaches, I think this is a home run. And that doesn't mean there's, don't take that like, hey, it's going to be easy to win the region. It's not. There was no team that you said, oh, no. Like, Chardon is that team. Benedictine came into D3 this year. They haven't won a game yet. I still wouldn't want to play Benedictine. They are 0-, now they may have given up now. They're 0-9. That is a program that when they came to D3, it was like, oh, that's a contender. They played such a tough early season schedule, couldn't get a win. And now they've lost to a couple teams they shouldn't have. My guess is the losing adds up. But there is no team in our region. We beat Waterson last year. We beat Tri-Valley. Not that those wouldn't be tremendous games again, but you say, okay, we feel like reasonably we'd have a chance. And then, Jackson's a team that certainly is pretty good, but they haven't won a state title. Chillicothe hasn't won a state title. Sheridan hasn't won a state title. You always don't want to be in a region with a team you say, that team's won it 3 straight years. I mean, that gets a little scary. So there's plenty of opportunity there. Win or lose against London, certainly we plan to win. We want to win. Regardless, we're playing in the playoffs week 11, and we will have a very competitive matchup regardless. If we win, I would say, I know Pasteur has Jonathan Alder as the most likely opponent. I don't agree with that. Keep in mind, he only has it at 40%. I think it's more likely, and so does he, that it'll be either Beechcroft or Columbus South, which it's crazy. That's crazy. And Tri-Valley, if we win, it looks like there easily could be a second-round showdown if both of us would advance. So wouldn't that be crazy to play a school like Tri-Valley, who I'd never really thought of until 2017? There's a chance we play them 3 times in 6 years.
Well, I guess in the Bellefontaine region, which is Division III Region 11, I don't know if there's that wow team like maybe a Baden or a Chardon. I agree with you. But there's about 6 or 7 teams that probably could get out of the region. We'll take the Chiefs out of it. We'll make this somewhat neutral.
Agreed.
If it's not the Chiefs getting out of the region, who are the –
Pasteur likes Jackson. He has them ranked 73rd. That seems a little high to me. They lost to Tri-Valley. That's the crazy thing. His computer model, and I spent a lot of time looking at it, and when we win, I always kind of hope it's the fan. I'm still a fan. I'm still the same kid that was 13 years old that was waiting for the Bellefontaine Examiner to release the points. Remember the old days where the only way you knew the computer points was wait till the examiner put them in the scoreboard area. And that still exists in me. So, I always like to say, I'll say to some of my buddies that follow it too, like, we gonna move up, and we haven't been moving up much. Which there's reasons. It's a formula, and we're on the wrong side of that formula right now. It's
all mathematics.
Yeah, it's math, and there's some point spread stuff, and there must be a couple scores he doesn't love from us. He loves Jackson because they are 73rd in the state, regardless of division. So there's 700 and some odd schools. They're number 1 in our region. They're like maybe 7th in D3, and then like 73rd overall. I think he has us like 5th in the region, 4th or 5th.
I believe Jackson has a senior quarterback that's highly touted.
Big time quarterback, yes. And then like Chillicothe, who we just watched them against London, that was early in the season. They have a tight end going to LSU. And then, there's some guys. Bishop Watterson, we saw them last year. They've added a quarterback. I've caught a little bit of them online. The Rudzinski kid played quarterback against us. He's more of a football player playing quarterback. Well, now they have another guy that plays as well, and he put up bigger numbers than Rudzinski. So obviously they'll be a handful because they were a handful last year, and then add a more dynamic quarterback into the mix. That helps. Tri-Valley's had a good season. Sheridan's always out there. That's a program I don't really have much.
They're usually good, though.
Yeah, they're always they don't usually make it very far in the playoffs, though. But, hey, I do believe it's wide open. And I think it's a great opportunity for us because I would be surprised if there's anyone in our region that if we played our best, we couldn't beat. Now, that doesn't mean we couldn't lose to, but I think we could.
Jack, I don't know if you get into the numbers as much as Rick because I don't know anybody that does. But as a player, there's a couple things here. Obviously, the attention's on London. You want to play well. You want to win the game. But a couple things for the players. I don't know if they were talking about this in the summer or even throughout the season. How big of a push has there been to win a CBC title outright, which you can do Friday?
Yes.
And then have the players ever talked about, our goal is to win 2 playoff games this year. We want to win a state title this year. Like, what do the kids say about all this?
Well, yeah. Obviously, we want to win the CBC title. That's clear cut, defined, focused on Friday. Playoff wise, we never put like a cap on it. We were never like, we're gonna get to 3 weeks and we'll be like satisfied and they can like build statues of us or whatever. But yeah, we don't want to put a cap on it. Like he said, I am a little bit into the region. I look into it a little bit. I know Jackson beat Western Brown, which
Yeah. And
that's a big win.
Was that a lower scoring game?
41-35, I remember
Which for them
that
it's
one.
low scoring.
Which
So
that
they
was
did a
a
good job.
score that caught my eye. Like,
Yeah.
uh-oh. But
Well, they stopped Western Brown a bunch of times if they held them to 38 points.
35,
35,
41-35,
yeah.
yeah.
yeah, and I keep seeing Western Brown on my TikTok. It's weird. It's like haunting me.
They're not in the Chiefs
TikTok
region.
knows.
They're not in the Chiefs
TikTok
region.
always knows
Well,
what he
okay.
likes, and gives him what he likes.
No,
they-
the Western Brown, though, is in Division III, Region 11. So if Bellefontaine were to play Western Brown, it would not be, and that's a full
I
team
really
set.
want to play Western Brown.
You
I
do wanna
also
play.
do.
Well, it means that we're in the
State
state
semis, at
semifinals.
least, yeah.
Yeah,
Depending how they brag.
and that's how that works. Like, you know, and obviously we all put out the asterisk. We're only worried about London, which we are. It's the only team, but we got enough hours in the day. We look at, you know, everybody looks at it. Any coach to tell you don't, they're lying. They're trying to do coach speak. That's the way those semis work. The Southern team's almost guaranteed to play. Now there'd be a scenario maybe where a team far away from us would win, and I still don't see that happening. I think 11 will play against 12.
Me too.
And
If I had to guess.
yeah, and then the northern two regions. I don't know much about that other region. There must be a northwest region
Right.
that I'm not very familiar with. Who is that?
Gosh, I'm trying to think of what teams that would be in Division III. Maybe, well, no, Wapakoneta's still 12. They go southwest.
Yeah, well,
It would be like the I don't know if Defiance is Division III, but it'd be like that area. Defiance,
it's Region 10.
Napoleon.
The number one team, according to past year, would be Mansfield Senior at 7-2. Then you get into the Tiffin Columbians, Holy Name.
Columbian beat Watterson.
It looks Columbia did beat Watterson. I would guess that's the weakest region. I mean, there's only a few teams in the top 150, actually only 3. And we're like 5th in our region, and we're ranked like 115 or something. So it looks like that's the region that maybe on paper is a little weaker. But I would say that northern one with Chardon is the bear.
Okay.
And that one with Western Brown.
Yeah.
Even
Dayton.
it's like the first 8 teams in that region are really, really good, and it kind of falls off
Yeah.
like a little bit.
No, I mean, yeah, because we know Walpock's good. We know Tip City's good.
Yeah.
Those would all be handful teams. Baden, you know, is Trotwood still in there? Or are
Yeah.
they just
They're like
5 and
they
4,
got
I
5
believe.
and 4, but they're like 8th in the region right now.
Yeah, and I just don't know much about them anymore. They're playing in the old G-Walk still, are they?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't catch them very often. I don't know
Not
what's
sure
going
what
on.
league they're in, actually. I don't know.
Speaking of playoffs, you know, a lot of teams are getting in, which, you know, was the case last year. But the interesting thing, and we talked about it off air, is there is so many teams playing this Friday night with something at stake. I mean, most of the state would be, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
probably, how many teams per region? Like 23, 24?
So more make it than don't make it. Clearly.
Oh, yeah, way more. So, and then how many teams, you know, most regions, 17, 18, are still in contention, maybe some not, but I mean, you're talking about 75% of the state.
At least. It makes Week 10 very meaningful.
Yeah. And, you know, and I get the criticism of, I get it. Okay, it's too many teams. But is there ever such, and I said this last year, is there ever such thing as too much football? Like, other sports do it. I mean, baseball does it, basketball does it. We don't complain and say, well, you know, there's lopsided games, but we just say, it's part of it. It's the journey. I'm all for it. I think it's fun. I think that most coaches are smart enough that if it's a really bad mismatch, that, you know, they'll figure it out and they'll play their JVs and they'll have a week that guys can rest up. I look in our area, there is a bunch of the teams are going to make it. Ben Logan's going to make it. Speaking of Ben Logan, have you looked at what they're looking at week 11? It's very likely they're going to be getting on a bus going to Cleveland Glenville, which is, I think, one of the most interesting playoff matchups I've ever imagined. Actually, when the regions came out, I went back through our texts on our coaches, and I saw the region that Ben Logan was in. I said, imagine Ben Logan traveling to Cleveland Glenville in week 11. It's about 2.5-hour drive.
And a Division I
And
dudes.
a team.
A few.
Yeah, and Glenville's not quite Teddy Ginn Glenville,
No,
like
but
Teddy
there's-
Ginn Jr., but I think they have a lot of good players. And that would be I love that kind of stuff. When Marietta, they're in our region, and I said I'm different than the other coaches. I like away playoff games. I get it. I want our community to host playoff games. I want our kids, all that stuff for them. For me, I like getting in a car. I drive to the games. I drive with the team, but I drive out front. So me and Dallas Williams, Coach Mifsud, and Coach Egler get out in front, and we help the Boy family get our stuff unloaded. So I have a reason to be driving, but I drive, and I like a long road trip. I said I'd love to go to Marietta and play a playoff game. I think it'd be awesome. Now, I want to go down there and win, but
I don't know. After Dresden and Mount Orab last year,
I thought those were awesome. I really did.
good.
Did you not think so, Jack? Like,
The ride back from Western Brown was terrible. It was miserable. I mean, it was
yeah.
And I was sitting on the bus, and I was sitting on like the wheel, like where it kind of lifts. So I was sitting like this, and yeah, it was top 10 worst experiences of my life.
I'm in an Acura, and Jack knows about Acuras because they have one. Now I'm in a 2005 Acura, but it's still pretty nice. It's his dad would appreciate that, but I get it. Yeah, the ride home, but man, it just, like I've said before, when you play someone at home in the playoffs, and I've done it a few times now, it doesn't quite have. I mean, it's a home game. You know what I mean? When you get in a car or a bus and drive to Mount Orab, you're in the playoffs. You're like, I don't think we scheduled this game. So I think it's kind of cool. I think it's cool going to new places, but.
Well, I will close it like this, guys. You played 2 playoff games last year. Beat Tri-Valley, lost to Western Brown. Did that journey or experience help for this week, week 10, right now?
Yes. It helped with everything. Every single thing we've done this year, it helped with. It helped us grow as a team and as a program, as a coaching staff, as players, as everything. It was, and I brought this up a couple different times. I brought it up in the off-season workouts one day that you never know the moments in football and in life that your whole direction can change. And that Kenton Ridge game last year, at the time, you're not really sure what we're playing for anymore. I mean, the wheels had kind of gotten wobbly, I think, by that point of the season. We started out really well, and then we struggled. And the play that stands out to me, and I'm sure there was a bunch, so it's probably not fair for me to pick one, but Owen Stanley catching that ball in the end zone. And I had told him before the game, I just had a feeling you're going to make a big play. It's coming. And he catches that ball, and we beat them.
In overtime.
If we don't win that game, and Crable kicks a game-winning
Extra point.
If we don't win that game, Tri-Valley never happens, right? We don't make the playoffs.
No, don't make
Western Brown never happens. How much different our offseason would have been? We still might be sitting here right now.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I don't like our chances. We went into the offseason with all kinds of momentum. Anybody that was doubting in the program, kids-wise, believed. And the expectations rose exponentially from there. So your question was, did it impact? Yes, it has impacted every single thing we've done since. And we have the opportunity in front of us with this London game to put a stamp and raise expectations even more, to win a league title, a true league title, not shared, beat a program that we haven't beat, go into the playoffs at home with a chance to be at home twice and we have a chance to do something truly special. It's not going to be easy. It's not guaranteed. We could fall flat on our faces, but you don't always get an opportunity to do something that will transcend the time and place you're in. And if we can put together a few weeks, like Jack said, I agree with him. I don't put a cap on it because I know how good we are. Coach Clark sat here in this seat last night and told Don Hensley he thinks this may be the best Bellefontaine team he's ever coached or played on. Not a man of hyperbole, Gail Clark.
No.
And not a man of false compliments. Anytime Coach Clark has had anything critical to say, he's always said it. That is high praise, but it shows you what the expectations are. And what an exciting time. What an exciting opportunity to get into the playoffs, which are so fun, like you said. I love them as a fan, let alone as being in the teeth of it. There's going to be some great matchups. If we can keep winning, starting this Friday and beyond, we can have experiences that will last the rest of all of our lives.
That's true. Jack, to you and your teammates, good luck.
Thank you.
Rick, enjoy it. I know you will.
Always.
Your group is going to be in the spotlight this week.
We will be locked and loaded.
Yeah, your offensive line. The Chiefs are 8-1. They are 4-0 in the CBC. London is 6-3, 3-1, and London has kind of ruled the roost around the CBC the last couple of years. The Chiefs have a chance to put their stamp on it this Friday when they go to London High School. That'll be a 7 o'clock kickoff. Thanks to the Chieftain backers for making our show happen. It's Chieftain Roll Call presented by Easton Water Solutions. For Rick Reed and Jack Varner, I'm Bill Tipple saying have a great week.